I work in sexual health and I get so many questions about condoms. And one of the things that I didn't realize before I started working in this field was just how much of a world there is around condoms and how many tips and tricks and different things that you can kind of play around with are out there. And I think that everybody talks about sort of the okay, make sure that it's the right size, make sure that you aren't leaving it in the glove box in your car and overheating it or in your wallet to get punctures. But these sorts of ins and outs of condom use, not everybody knows about. So, I'm going to take the most common questions that I get as someone who works in sexual health, someone who's a nerd around sexual health, and I'm going to give you the information. So, number one, let's start off by just saying, what is a condom? What are condoms, right? If you don't know, condoms are a barrier for the genitalia while having sex. And the purpose generally is for contraception, so preventing pregnancy or preventing STIs, sexually transmitted infections. There are a bunch of different kinds of condoms. Most of the time, when people think of a condom, they think of an external condom, which is the one that you would have seen in like sex health class or health class, right? Where it's going over the banana or whatever they do in the sex health class. But there are also things like internal condoms that go inside. There are other barriers that could, I guess, technically be considered condoms, such as dental dams, which is, the piece of latex or other material that go over the area to create this barrier. There are different materials of condoms, there are different flavors, there are different textures, like you can get ribbed or spiked. There's a whole world out there of condoms. The purpose of this video is not to go into the details of like what exactly is a condom and go into everything related to that. It's not about making this more effective. What this is about is making condom use a little bit more pleasurable and answering questions that I tend to get about condoms. So, the number one, we've all had a boyfriend in high school who says, "Oh my god, condoms don't feel good. I don't wanna wear them." How do you make condoms feel better? And number one, knowing that you're having safe sex and knowing that you're protecting your partners is, you know, going to feel good. And that's something that I think that we need to integrate more into conversations around condoms and how they feel, right? Like having worry-free intimacy is also a way of feeling good, even if that sensation is a little bit different than, you might otherwise have. But if you do want some tips on, increasing sensitivity, I do have something for you. One thing that a lot of people don't know is that you can actually add a few drops of lube inside the condom and outside of the condom to make the sensitivity a little bit more increased. So, most condoms, not all, but most have a little bit of lube already in it, just so that it kind of creates a little bit of moisture, make sure that there's no breakage. However, if you put a few little drops in the tip of the condom, you don't need a lot, just 2 or 3, and then put the condom on, and then put a little bit of lube on afterwards. This can actually greatly increase the sensation for many people. And if you don't believe me, try it out. If you have a condom around your house, you can put a little bit of lube in the tip of the condom, put it on your hand, and then put the lube over it and just kind of see. Like, one of the big things to keep in mind with this, though, is you want to make sure that the lube that you use is not oil based. You want to make sure that you go with a water based or a silicone based. If you want the pleasure to last a little bit longer, you want to make sure that you're using a silicone-based lube just because water-based can dissolve a little bit quicker. It's not bad, it's not dramatic, but silicone might be something that helps you keep it a little bit longer. One of the other questions that I've received is, what are the flavored condoms for? Like, why are there flavored condoms? Flavored condoms are for oral sex. So a lot of people use flavored condoms when they are trying to prevent the spread of STIs while having oral sex with someone. And they are a fun way of doing this while also, being safe. However, it is really, really important to avoid using flavored condoms for penetration. And this goes for lube as well. A lot of people will kind of take the flavored lube and play with it, use it for everything. But it's really important to avoid using that for penetration. Um, Maybe some people are going to be fine with it. However, it's best to play safe and avoid inserting it anywhere. Those are more for the taste and having oral fun rather than anything else. And it could cause infections, it could cause irritation, and you just don't want to play around with things like that. Does the size of the condom really matter? So we've all been, in these conversations where people say, oh my God, like the condom is just too small. It just doesn't fit. But then we've also been in these conversations where people are like, look at me put this whole condom over my arm and like, look how much I can blow it up. So, there's no excuses for it being too small. And while I understand that point, I totally understand where it's coming from. And it's super important to try and debunk this myth of like people saying that condoms just don't fit them, right? They're just too big. I think it's really important to acknowledge that just because a condom blows up really big or like it fits over your arm or whatever doesn't mean that it's going to be good for friction and penetration and moving in and out and being safe to protect people from getting pregnant or transmitting STIs and all of these sorts of things. So if you're a person who finds condoms really uncomfortable and tight and all of those things, try a different size. Don't listen to this thing about how, condoms can blow up really big or fit over arms or fit over hands and all of these sorts of things. You have a delicate appendage, right? Like you want to make sure that things are comfortable and feeling good. What are some ways to make putting a condom on less awkward? So I don't think that putting a condom on is awkward. I think that sex is not supposed to be this really serious thing where we're being super serious and we're not allowed to joke around and everything has to go really smooth. Um, I think that sex is its best when we can kind of lean into those moments, when we can have fun, when we can kind of laugh or, incorporate those sorts of moments that take us out of the moment, right? However, if you found that when it's time for the condom to come out, it's just kind of taking you out of the mood, it's putting you in a different headspace, there are some ways that you can make it a little bit more fun. So, just off the top of my head, number one is you can kiss while, unwrapping and putting everything on. You can also incorporate this into a little bit of the fun. So, you can use a little bit of kink. So, you can tell your partner, you put it on. You can order them around, right? You can kind of play around with the dynamics, the power dynamics, right? And incorporate that playfully into the dynamic. So, those have been the questions that I've received that I thought would be kind of interesting for a video to chat about. If you have any questions about condoms, or if you have any answers about condoms, put it below and chat with people because it's one of those things where It seems super basic, but there are a lot of different tips and tricks and different things that you can kind of play around with, right? So, looking forward to hearing the discussion in the comment section below and have a wonderful day.